Hey Gemini, welcome to Eight of Cups Tarot. I'm doing your February reading. I'm sorry that I was a little late. I had to take a couple of days off to kind of rejuvenate my energy. But I'll make it up to you. I've added a little something extra in this reading, and then very soon we'll be meeting again to go over your mid-month love readings. Let's look at the astrology for a minute for you guys, Gemini. Really important, I think, and I think I've been saying it all along for my Geminis, but it's really important to understand, especially as we're going through this retrograde Mercury, is that the universe is preparing my Geminis. You're about to make a major transition in May into the North Node. When the Moon's nodes, which is actually just a point, a shadow point in the chart, when they move, then the entire axis of the eclipses for the next 18 months switch over into those houses. So we're looking at the Gemini Sag area in your chart. So if that's your sun, your rising, your moon, just know that significant parts of your life are about to emerge. And this usually points you in the direction of what is destined for you. Doubly, if you have a natal node in Gemini of some sort, you'll feel this even more. But like everything in the universe and in our lives, before we get prepared for that next major shift or that next move, there's a feeling like we've got to clean some stuff out. And that's exactly what Mercury is going to do for you this month. Mercury retrograde in Pisces in your 10th house. This is big picture placement. And when Neptune is involved, we have no choice other than to dream big, right? And we also have no choice other than to kind of dissolve the illusions or the fantasies or the fairy tales that sometimes we really get hooked on in our minds as a way to protect us. So there's a lot of subconscious work going on right now. And of course, Uranus, again, is going to be heavily activated in those early degrees of Taurus, which is your 12th house. Again, shifting and shaping your subconscious and getting you ready for your big debut with that North Node. We're coming off today and yesterday, and really for the next 2 weeks to a month, we're going to be carrying this energy of this Leo full moon in our 3rd house. So we're talking here about communication. And Gemini has no problem with communication. This is not an issue for most of my Geminis, but when we're talking a full moon in Leo, this is kind of about communicating or being able to be authentic, to be yourself, and maybe the reviewing in some way of who you are able to express yourself to truly. I think that's going to become really important for Gemini. And I know, and now I have a moon in Cancer, and so this past 18 months for me, with the nodes being in Cancer and Capricorn, which is my rising, I know there was a period of preparation which was uncomfortable. And so there's a period where, again, there's a clearing out, there's a throwing away of the stuff that we don't want to bring with us. And it's hard work. It's not, these are not easy menial tasks, We're kind of addressing the big picture stuff. And that 10th house retrograde Mercury is really a framing of what we want our future to look like. What does our destiny look like? Really an opportunity to look at what we want for this next phase in our lives. And then we have to address Venus moving into Aries in your 11th house, which is giving you the ambition and the drive to sort of go after it. Now, 11th house could bring relationships with friends, turning friendships into more, or just having to address certain friendships in your life. Venus can be demanding, and she could be outspoken in Aries, and that's okay. So you might be dealing with people surrounding you that are kind of taking on that tone, maybe being demanding of you and your time, and this could be something in which you have to form some boundaries around as well. All right, let's get into the cards, because this actually turned out to be a really beautiful reading. I'm picking up on a very significant relationship here. Is it a love reading? Probably. It could as well be a business partnership or a friendship or a family member, of course. But whatever it is, this seems to be a very destined and it's a soulmate relationship nonetheless. I'm seeing a lot of karmic ties, which goes with the timing and the astrology rather nicely, in a way that it's helping you to kind of figure out who you are and who you want to be in this next phase coming up. So the first cards that came out signifying your energy, Gemini. Now, keep in mind as well, this could be vice versa. This could be your partner. So just kind of see where it fits in your story. This is a card of Virgo, 9 of Pentacles. And then you also got the 9 of Wands. So we're talking earth and fire signs here. But what we're talking about is independence. What I see here is you standing in your independence. I see a person who's capable of doing the things for themselves, not really needing anyone else. This person doesn't come from a place of lack or a place of weakness. They're quite happy in who they are and what they have. And I feel like this person needs or feels the need to protect that part of them. And there's always a period when we get into relationships or we're going through issues in relationships where is it worth the dissolving of the life that we sort of built for ourselves? I think when you get into a serious connection, you've spent a long time trying to figure out who you are on your own, and then you sort of have to restructure your life in order to fit another person. And there's always a fear that, is that a waste of time? Is it a waste of energy? Do they want the same? So there's a question of what you're willing to be vulnerable and how far you're willing to take that here. Because crossing you is the Queen of Swords and the Six of Wands. So the other person in this situation, it could be Gemini, Aquarius, or Libra, could be another fire sign that you're dealing with here. Leo's, Aries, Sag. But what I'm seeing from this other person is making you feel alive. I feel like there's something inside my Geminis that are getting woke up. There's a sense of somebody, in all this is somebody who's willing to communicate, somebody who's willing to talk to you, somebody who doesn't, I don't feel like there's ego games here. I feel like there's real honesty. You know, this is somebody who, if they tell you that you're beautiful or they compliment you, I think this really comes from a heart, and I think you know that, and I think that you feel it. And in fact, I think that this person makes you feel like you're capable of a lot more when they're with you. I feel like this person inspires you. This person is... they embody the idea of going after the passion of going for the things that you want and the things that you love. And so I'm picking up this energy, like, yes, there's an option to stay single, to stay guarded, but in this situation, I think you're questioning whether you need that or not. I think that you're really liking the way that this feels. And I feel like there's a slow easing of the grip that you have around your life at this point. In your fears, again, notice the yellow, the going after, the drive. So in your fears, we have the Chariot and the Queen of Pentacles. So I think, Gemini, that you are very well aware of the significance of this relationship that you are being faced with. I think that you know that you've reached a point where movement needs to be made. This could be the point in a relationship where either you break up or you move in with each other. The merging of the lives together, the day in, day out, maybe putting families together, you know, maybe having to change living situations in some way. And there may be some investments involved. And so this causes a lot of stress for you. Now, Gemini, again, we are talking about that Pisces, that retrograde Mercury in your 10th house, which is kind of going over that area of how do I see my life? What's the big picture? What do I want? What if my dreams were to come true, what would they look like? And so there is the questioning or the knowing that you have to make a decision here, that there will be an investment, there will be a move. It's kind of like the having to change everything if this is what you truly want. And, you know, with that, there's the fear of making the bad investment. There's a fear of taking the wrong road. It's a pretty vulnerable time, I feel like, for my Geminis. But in your hopes, the energy that's crowning you, which is so beautiful, is the World and the Star card. So there's a lot of Saturn here. It's the first thing that popped out to me was there's so much Saturn going on here. So above all, I'm going to get into multiple interpretations of this, but above all, I want to tell you that what I'm picking up on these cards is that I think subconsciously, Geminis, I think you know that this is meant for you. And I think you know that there has to be some form of a commitment. I think that you actually want that commitment in spite of your fears, in spite of the actual taking action and making the moves. I think when the idea of this relationship is nothing more than an idea over your head, it seems really beautiful. it seems somewhat healing and cathartic. This person, there's a knowing that this person brings you peace. That this person, oh, that's funny, they just said put the pieces together for you. This person is, maybe one of those puzzle pieces in your life that you need to find to kind of put things together. But nonetheless, it feels very karmic. It feels extremely fated in your mind. So I think some of the levels of stress that you have coming from this situation is more of the mental, because it seems like your intuition and your inner drives and your inner passions are continually pushing you towards this person. I think there is divine guidance here. I think that maybe the universe is setting this up for you, whether you like it or not. You're getting pushed into a direction which is leading you to where you're meant to be, your north node. That's what I see with the star here. Now, getting into the good stuff is taking a look at the recent past for my Geminis, and this is really interesting. I asked for one card, and then we clarify with several more, and then they let me know exactly how to lay these out. So the first thing that came up was that 5 of Swords. So this is what I was talking about, the inner conflict. When you are faced with this kind of a connection and this kind of destiny pulling you, there is a level of needing to let go of control. I think that innately we grow up feeling like we want to have as much control over our lives as we can. We had a picture or a timetable in our heads of how we wanted things to unfold and go about, and maybe part of this situation isn't exactly what you had planned or dreamed of your whole life. Maybe this looks very different, and there's an adjustment period. And it looks like in the recent past, this situation caused a lot of inner conflict for you. A lot of drama or an attack on your ego. And I feel like it triggered some pain from the past. Now, karmic relationships will do this to you. So let's explain. People that are meant to be in our lives, people that we're meant to work through situations with together. In a lot of ways, these people trigger us. Now, karmic relationships should not allow abusive behavior, mental, physical, anything like that, dealing with narcissism, anywhere where you're feeling genuinely mistreated. I am not telling you that that is okay. But sometimes we meet people in our lives that trigger these old situations and these old fears, and they trigger us to feel the need to protect ourselves. And so then we have to look to our past, and we have to decipher what is really in front of us, what is salvageable, and what is over. And sometimes this comes to us in shadow work. So there are times when you meet people in your life and the love feels so genuine. It feels so safe. And so there's moments where you have to step back and reevaluate everything you knew up until then. And that's a really unsettling feeling. And so this could be a time in which you felt like you had to walk away or turn away from this person or this situation. and get your stuff together, because it looks like there was a pause. It looks like someone did get left out. The feeling of abandonment, the feeling of walking away from somebody, going into your own little world. This is a card of Virgo as well. But it's a card of mental energy and gaining the wisdom that you need. And so this could also be a point where you needed to clear these energies out before proceeding. And so the universe creates situations in which these feelings have to come out and be expelled, and then we learn to go about things differently. So the Five of Cups and Five of Pentacles, these are major transformations in our life. Now, not major because it's minor arcana, but it is addressing the fears and the thought processes that we have developed through our egos to keep us protected. There's the victim mentality or the guilt mentality. Why do I do everything wrong? Why does everybody mistreat me or leave me and walk away? You know, these are two major mind thoughts that we take from situations in the past. So if you had previous relationships that looked a little bit like this, or if the partner had previous relationships, this energy may have come back in for a moment. And quite honestly, I don't see it in a strong, committed energy that I feel is possible here. I don't think this is a deal breaker. I think this is just stuff that had to be healed before moving forward. And hopefully you took this time to not just walk away and see how things unfold, but the Hermit energy is where we kind of go inside of ourselves and we take a real honest look. Card of Virgo, the self-analyzer, the critic of our mind. And instead of coming from a place where we want to tell everybody what they do wrong, or criticize others and instruct others, this is a time where we get inside ourselves and we do the self-analyzing and the fixing and the realizations. And again, the Uranus in the 12th house, we're coming up with these psychological explosions, these downloads, which are quite honestly just causing you to grow at these really rapid rates of ascension. So the Hermit energy was probably extremely productive here. And it must have been, because in the near future, things seem to really be solidifying. First card out, the Lovers. Now, the other two cards being of threes and this being of twos tells me a little bit about balance. And obviously we're going to talk about it being the Lovers, about how I feel that this is an extremely significant and fated relationship that we're talking about here. Yes. But I also think that there are elements of this relationship that help you to balance yourself out. I think that this is something that's very healthy because it makes you address your fears as well as your desires. And there is a sorting and a sifting through and coming to the conclusion of who you are and what you really want in your life. And once that balance is reached, once that harmony is there and you have the strength to move, then the things start to happen, right? The plans start to get made. The communication is there. I see this as the lovers is kind of the breaking open. Okay, so it's like the deciding that this is for me, the acknowledging that this is something of significance, and the opening of the communication to start making the plans. Okay, so now we know this is important and we want this to be around. What do you need? What do I need? What together do we have? What are we bringing to the table? It is the turning of the 2 into the 3, the co-creating of the destiny. So it goes from you and me to mine, yours, and ours. Advice from Spirit. Knight of Pentacles and the Ace of Swords. So let's remember, Gemini, and this is really important, that Rome wasn't built in a day. Okay, so Spirit wants you to proceed cautiously, as if this were an actual investment, is to move slowly, to slowly build on those plans. And the Ace of Swords, I think also you're going to see that this person or this situation has very clear and honest intentions for you. You know, I feel as though this person wants to, they want to build this investment with you. Their intentions are very honest, reliable, and trustworthy. In fact, I think that there's a lot of trust coming from this situation here, and there's a lot of truth. So this could quite honestly be asking you to state your intentions and to make this other person feel okay as well, to feel comfortable. And then the overall advice and outcome is really beautiful because it is the 6 of Cups and the 8 of Wands.